Hello, guys. This is this week's episode. I apologize for the last week's episode being late by like 3 days. I just was super unwell and I couldn't find the time to edit it. But hopefully that won't happen too often in the future. And I don't know if you could tell by this intro, but during this episode, I'm still not like 100% better. So I hope that does. But I hope that doesn't affect your enjoyment of this episode too much. So enjoy. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of At the Movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and I am joined by Barney Metcalf. Sorry.
Hello.
And this week, we will be covering Re-Animator and sequels. Because it's October. That feels
Scary.
scary,
Boo.
yeah. And I've never seen these films, so yeah, I might as figured I might as well watch these. So I'm coming in completely fresh with these films. I've got no reference to these films. My only knowledge about these films before is from American Beauty, when two of the characters are talking about a scene where a head goes down on a woman or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I rewatched American Beauty quite recently, actually. I remember thinking, reference Re-Animator in that.
And in the way it's played in American Beauty, thought that was like a comedic scene in Re-Animator. It's not.
No.
It's like, I'm just gonna be straight up. There's some bad things in these movies that aren't for everybody. So just
Yes.
viewer discretion, well, listener discretion rather, because this isn't.
Yeah, so zoinks, that's dark from me.
So yeah, just keep that in mind. I'm gonna try and dance around it as much as I can, but like, it's kind of hard to when all three of the films have really dark things in it that I don't like. Like it's
Yeah,
but
there's some dark crap in there.
yeah. So I think you had seen the first one before, though, right?
Yeah. I watched it as a part of kind of a personal sort of like Halloween, October mini sort of film festival I did for myself, where I plucked out a bunch of films that I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
And this was one of the, sorry, that was, when was that? That was about 4 years ago, I think, at this point. Something like that, 3 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
So I rewatched that one the other day, and then I watched the sequels for the first time in preparation for this.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Re-Animator last night, and then I watched the sequels today.
Yeah, no, I watched the sequels literally today.
Yeah,
There was like some slight crossover. I think I started watching them about half an hour before you.
yeah, because like I knew I had to watch them for this record, but I just didn't like want to, like, because the first one, I mean, I like the first one, but I wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to watch the sequels. I was just like, okay, what else can they do? Because I feel like they've kind of done all the stuff
I
already.
think you hit the nail on the head there, because I was planning on watching the second one yesterday and then the third one today, but I ended up doing them both today. And then yesterday it occurred to me like, oh yeah, I had to watch that. Well, so
Yeah.
I wasn't like tripping over myself trying to watch them.
Yeah, and it's not even like I dislike these films. I just don't, because we both know people who love this film, or at least someone who loves this film. And I was going in being like, you know what? I want to like this film. It seems like something I might like. And just watching it, I was like, okay, what am I missing? Because, in fact, I was talking to my dad about it. I was talking about this person's top 100 films, and Re-Animator is on that. And my dad was like, oh, right. And he was like, did he see it a lot as a kid? And I'm like, I don't know. Because, so my dad does not care for this film that much, so
Yeah, when I first watched it, I was like, okay, that was good, but do I know what people love about the film? No. Um, and so I was looking forward to rewatching it because I thought, okay, maybe I'll find something new that I maybe didn't fully appreciate the first time around. And no, I liked it about as much as I did the first time around.
it just
But yeah, no,
feel
I should clarify, like you, I do like this first film. I do enjoy it, but
yes, just this first film, and then the sequels. It's like I think
well,
it's,
we'll get to them. But
we'll get
yeah,
into that. Yeah, I think it. I mean, yeah, I don't really know where to start because I don't know if I want to talk about all the films sort of in a general sense, or if we want to go like in between the films because there's not that a whole lot to talk about really with these films when you really think about it. Like, there's not that much to
they
them.
don't really do massive amounts that are different from each other.
Yeah, they're
And and
basically.
that's one of my issues with it as a trilogy. Like, apart from maybe a bit of the third one, I don't really feel like they're treading any new ground. It's just kind of like Herbert West, this crazy scientist dude. He wants to bring things back to life in his research to create life, and he just does that over and over again in each of these
Yeah,
films. And
and
oh,
it's
what
like,
a
oh,
surprise! It turns out that it turns people into crazed zombie things.
yes. Yeah, and it's like the setting really, like, it slightly changes, but not really, though. Like,
Not
the
massively.
third one's
It's
in a prison for the most part, which is nice.
Which, yeah, earned it a few brownie points for me for kind of spicing it up a little bit.
But, like, the first one and second one, like, don't. They're more or less in sort of similar places. And
Same sort of place, yeah.
honestly, the films. But they seem to just sort of go down a similar structure, though. Like, Herbert West and, who's the other guy in the first two films?
I forget the actor's name, but the character's called Dan Kane.
Daniel Kane, yeah. Yeah, they're like, well, because it just, like, yeah, because Herbert West is like, oh, I'm gonna do some things. I'm gonna, resurrect people. I'm gonna reanimate people, bring them back or whatever. And oh no, it goes wrong. And then,
Who would
oh,
have thought that it could go wrong?
oh no, here's some. I'm just gonna keep injecting it, and maybe it'll work this time. And oh
Like,
no, it doesn't. And
there's a quote knocking about somewhere. It's like the definition of stupidity is just to do the same thing over and over again.
yeah, exactly.
And I'm struggling to buy Herbert West as this kind of genius scientist man when he just really doesn't change his strategy
Yeah.
at all.
It's just like, oh, we'll just keep injecting it. It's like, oh, there's a dead body. Let's just go take that dead body. And it's just like, okay.
Should we talk about Herbert West as a? Because
Uh,
he's the
yeah,
only one who's in all three of these films.
yeah. He's fine. I think, just sort of in general, acting wise, that it's not great. Like, I think the first one is probably the. I mean, the first one's the best one. Okay, like I think we can both
Yeah,
agree the first one's the best one.
I think yeah,
I
that is a
think
fair assessment.
performance wise, it's all more or less. It's all fine. I think Herbert West is potentially interesting, but he's just not. And like,
I think Herbert West is interesting in the first one, um, and then he keeps on kind of making the same idiotic decisions
yeah,
in the
he's
next two. And I'm
yeah
like,
he
okay, and they're not trying anything new with him. It is just the same sort of thing.
yeah. I
But I
just
do, honestly, I think Herbert West is kind of what makes the first film for me, or part of what makes the first film.
I
I do
think
like him in that one, and I quite like Jeffrey Combs.
yeah, I think he helps with sell the film because you do sort of need like sort of a specific because he's not a part like Herbert isn't a like character that can be played by anyone really. You do sort of need something a little special, even though
Yeah, you need to have a
even
type to play.
yeah, even though the performance isn't that great anyway, like you still need someone a bit special to play that part. He's not just sort of like a blank cipher where anybody can just sort of be put into that role. You need like
Yeah, he's a bit kind of out there and a bit, he's weird. Basically, there's no other way to put it. But you need somebody who can kind of capture that.
and
What's the underlying potential insanity?
yeah, but like I just think but besides him really, in the rest of the characters, like well, first of all, in every single one of these films, there is one just creep who just wants it just like, and I'm just like, do we need? Because every film, the main female character gets assaulted.
It's
We,
yeah, a very unchivalrous approach to
and I feel
women as well.
like, and the way the women are shot, because there's just elongated shots of naked women for no real reason. There's like a scene in the first one where the woman, there's just a like a not bird, well, kind of bird's eye view. They're like taking clothes off, and it's just there, and then there's just a shot of the head just like looking down at woman, and it just goes on for so long, and it's just
Yeah,
like,
there was a particular bit that really jumped out at me in the third one where there's like a naked woman and then one of the zombie people like bites her boob.
oh, yeah. And it's just like, so did these guys just like, are they just really horny and they've got some fucked up fantasies? Like,
They
because,
want to eat flesh and
yeah,
see
they want to pull
women.
an army hammer on women.
Oh no. Across all three of these films, they really make no effort to imbue any of the female characters with any discernible character or personality.
No, they
They
really,
are just the woman.
yeah. And I was talking with other people. This is kind of tangentially related. Is like, there's some great female characters written today. Like, some of the best female characters of all time. Great female characters exist, but it also feels like it's taken forever for us to get really, really great female characters.
Yeah, if you look at a lot of like films from the last, I guess, century, 21st century, I couldn't point to that many like iconic or like fantastic female characters. Yeah,
I'm trying to just sort of like, because a lot of the best characters I found are on TV.
TV
like
definitely. Yeah, but I'm trying
TV.
to think now iconic female characters from 20th century. Best I can think of is Ellen Ripley from Alien.
Yeah, but I mean, and she's sort of an outlier though. Like, you don't. I mean, you could
Yeah,
say,
I can't immediately think of anybody else.
yeah, like, you
Well,
know,
I am thinking of other things, but I'm like, what's her face? Sarah Connor from Terminator. But even then, I
that was
don't
still
think
the
she's
mid
that
'80s
great a
though.
character.
Yeah, she's not like, she's different, but she's not like a great written character.
It's not profound in any way. It's
Yeah,
just like, yeah,
exactly.
okay, she's a
Because,
decently,
but
she's
yeah,
an adequately written woman character.
yeah, exactly. But like, if you look at TV right now, some phenomenal female characters being written for TV. Like Kim from Better Call Saul, who might be the greatest female character ever written. No, that's a big thing to say, but I think
Yeah,
it,
excellent. I'm not going to
you know,
disagree with.
yeah, you're a fan of Ted. We're fans of Ted Lasso. The female
I was
characters in Ted
going to
Lasso,
say Keely and Rebecca from
Rebecca,
Ted
yeah,
Lasso are definitely
they're like, but they're also like, that's a comedy, but like, it doesn't really change anything. They're still great female
It's have
characters.
an insane amount of depth, I think. And I
Yeah,
think that's what's missing from a lot of female characters
yeah.
from TV of days gone by. There just isn't that much
It
depth.
they're usually just like, oh, we've got a sexy woman. She's gonna get her titties out. Yeah, like
It's either that or it's just you are a woman.
or yeah,
That's
or a lot of the time the female character will be used to sort of be like, oh, you're just gonna die to help service another character's,
Yeah, that's the classic thing, using a woman's death to motivate a male
which is called
attack.
like fridging or like fridged, is where like a female character, how this is a thing that's been talked about more and more as time has gone on, and was even referenced in She-Hulk recently, where basically how common it is in comic books. It was originally made for comic books, but it extends to every other form of media, basically, where a female character is killed to.
It's kind of one of those things where once you notice it,
Yeah.
you can't unknown.
And it's just like the female characters in these Re-Animator films are like, I don't need every female character or just every character in general to be the most, have so much depth, because that's not my problem. My problem is I don't want characters to just be there to look good, like as to just be like ogled at. especially when they
Either yeah, either to be eye candy or just do nothing.
yeah, and especially when the way they're being ogled at is in a way that isn't okay, like is illegal by definite like because
Yeah,
all the female characters, it feels like I can't think of a major female character in these films who doesn't get hurt or assaulted or something worse. Like
I mean,
it's
of the three kind of lead females, 2 out of 3 of them are dead by the end of their respective films.
yeah. They also all of them they all die. Like the
Where does
main
the chick in the second one die?
is she the one? She's
I
the
thought she makes it out with
maybe
who's
she
dead.
does. Well, because there's the reanimate. Well, because the reanimate. The bride is from the first
Oh,
film,
of course, yeah. No, I'm forgetting about her.
and then there's yeah the other woman who was in Austin
Oh, there you go.
Powers.
There's progression. Bride
There's
of Reanimator. Two
yeah
women. Ooh.
two women. Oh, doesn't pass the Bechdel test though.
Oh,
These films really would fail.
these films will get slammed by the Bechdel test.
And I mean, I don't even like the Bechdel test. It's more just an interesting way of like looking at something and being like, oh, does it pass this test? Even though, even if it does, it doesn't mean it's necessarily good. But like,
Yeah, no, I don't believe that every film should have like perfect 50-50 kind
yeah,
of
I not yeah,
representation of gender.
but
But
I
there
would
are
kind
some
of
things.
prefer if these films had proactive women who were like, you know what, I'm not standing for this shit, and they start killing the fucking zombies. Like that would,
Yeah, yeah. If they made an effort, it
yeah,
would be
like
nice.
they don't have to live necessarily, but at least have them try and do something instead of just being like,
Yeah, at least just have them be competent and not just, oh, zombie, I'm dead.
yeah, because like it just doesn't. And yeah, the first they just made me uncomfortable with how they treated female characters because I'm not like to sort of be general. I'm not against a film showing bad things. You know, I'm not
Yeah,
against it.
as long as there's a reason.
And also, I feel like in these Re-Animator films, they highly glamorize it and make it seem far
Yeah,
too
there needs to be a reason, and
appealing
it
to a
needs to be
male
acknowledged
audience.
that this isn't a good thing, which
Yeah,
these films don't do.
yeah. We've been talking about this a lot, but I think it's a
I was going
major
to say,
problem.
I thought we were going to be talking about a good bit of zombie nonsense, but it turns out we're having a good dissection into the roles of feminism in cinema.
Well, it's the film's fault. Like, if they,
Yeah, exactly. We're having this conversation because of Re-Animator.
I
It's fine.
honestly like, I don't go into zombie films being like, oh, I gotta talk about how women,
Not wait for this profound character study.
you know. But I do notice it when characters aren't treated well. I feel like I notice it more with female characters, if I'm being honest, because like male characters, it's. I mean, I do notice it with male characters at times, but like, I think
It's just kind of more detrimental to society when it's
yeah,
women because it's like, come on, we should be past this, and we should
yeah,
have been past this long ago.
yeah. I mean, yeah, even now, you don't get. There's still not a whole lot of great female characters. And when there are, people still complain because they're not. I don't know. They're not white women. I don't know. They're progressive women. I don't know.
It's strange.
But, yeah, just.
Um,
These I went in to these films. Yeah, I was expecting like there's just gonna be some zombies. There's gonna be some cool effects. You know, these guys are gonna kill some zombies. It'll look cool. I wasn't expecting multiple scenes of assault and women
yeah,
being mutilated terribly. Because why would I expect that? Like,
yeah, exactly. I was gonna use that as a good segue onto something that I wanted to bring up, but that's far out. That's gone out of my mind. Oh yeah, that's it. These films are generally considered to be like horror comedies.
are
Do you
they?
find them particularly funny?
I didn't find them particularly funny, nor did I find them particularly scary. And like I mean, I don't
Yeah,
find horror films in general to be scary, but I can usually understand, like, oh, that's meant to be a scary scene.
yeah,
Like,
exactly, exactly. With these films, I'm able to recognize, oh, this guy who's had like his lower half removed, crawling around on the floor. That's meant to be a scary thing. It was just I watched it and I was like, ah.
honestly,
There were no real attempts to try and make you like even chuckle at anything.
honestly, I was kind of confused at what I was meant to find funny and what I wasn't meant to find funny. I didn't find it especially clear. Like, occasionally I did, but a lot of the time I was just like, oh, is that? I was like, is that meant to be a fun? Like, I can't pull anything to mind, but I had that
Okay,
sort of like,
there is one bit actually that I thought, okay, that I found that funny, but I don't know if it was an intentional.
yeah,
I think we are going to kind of just talk about these three films kind of collectively.
yeah, because like
So
they are,
otherwise, we're just going to be saying the same thing over and over
yeah,
again in
exactly.
three
They're
different.
more or less the same film, honestly,
Um,
beyond a few
so yeah,
superficial changes.
yeah. In Beyond Reanimator, there's like the prison warden character. He gets turned into a zombie or whatever. And
Yeah.
in climax of the film, Herbert West straps him into an electric chair and electrocutes him. Shortly after that bit, there's just a random shot of a rat that's been in the film up to that point. And then it
Yeah.
just moves on.
Yeah.
This guy's been electrocuted. Quick shot of a rat. Move on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One thing I found bizarre is one thing I actually did find funny, but I've got an example. Something I think is meant to be funny, but I'm not actually sure. Is it's in Beyond Reanimator as well when the there's that guy who goes to he goes after the girl they've brought back with he's like the prison guy and he's got the and he gets like ripped in half
Yeah, yeah, that guy. Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
he's like swinging from the walls and he's like move and I'm just like this is funny but I don't know if it's
That was a
supposed
bit
to
I actually really liked. I thought that was a really cool thing, I guess, in having this legless dude kind of like a kid on some monkey bars in a playground, like
yeah
climbing his way through the building.
yeah I don't know if I was meant to find that funny or not but I
Yeah,
liked it.
I wasn't sure either.
I liked it.
Actually, I've said that I didn't find these films particularly funny, although, and I've said there's an example of one. I've thought of another bit that I found funny by association with something else.
Oh yeah.
It's a scene in the first film when so Herbert West is living with this other doctor guy, Dan Kane, who we've mentioned. At one point, Dan goes into the basement and he finds Herbert West doing some. Yeah, Herbert West killed his cat at some point, and he goes into the basement and he finds him doing experiments on the dead cat, which he reanimates. And the cat starts attacking him, and it's like crawling all over his back and stuff.
Yeah.
And when they get it off his back, and it's kind of like hiding in some stuff that's hanging around the place. It just made me think of that episode of Community where they do a zombie thing.
Oh,
There's a
and then
bit
there's the cat that keeps jumping
cat that
at.
keeps jumping across the screen.
Yeah, like is someone throwing it?
Throwing it? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, there's a lot of animal. I mean, I
In
presume
fact,
it's
that
not.
is probably the standout scene of the first film to me. It's just on that line where it's like, okay, I'm not quite. It's not quite upsetting, although I think it does slightly cross that line a little bit later on in that scene, like the bit where the cat's been freshly reanimated and it's going mental, and then they kill it again, and it's got like a broken back, and then they reanimate the cat, and it's
Oh,
like
that.
on
These
move.
films are
It's just
so like upsetting, and they feel so mean spirited.
yeah, they are very mean-spirited films. I don't quite find it upsetting in the way that I do like some films that really try to get realistic gore, and it is just like.
look, it's not the gore that upsets me. It's
It's
the
kind of the basis of the idea, like a cat with a broken back that's been reanimated trying
yeah.
to, and it's just
That scene in, is it the second or third one where the guy cat cuts the bat's wings off?
I believe that's in the second one.
That just felt so,
Because yeah, because the
because
like
the fucking head has the fucking
yeah
wings.
the dismembered head of this
I found that bit
this
funny too, actually, and I don't think that's meant to be funny. Or maybe it is.
yeah. I'm
I,
really quite generally. I think I'm quite puzzled about what is the humor of this film, if there is any at all. Because yeah, I know it doesn't
yeah.
even register to me as being particularly comedic.
Yeah, but these films just are so mean and just so like. And look, I'm more sensitive about seeing an animal get hurt than humans getting hurt because I don't
Well,
something
it's
that
because we're conscious beings. We make our own choices, and a lot of the time we make bad choices. Whereas animals are just kind of,
yeah,
you know,
like
acting on
if
instinct.
I watch. Yeah, like seeing a film where someone like if I was to watch, like a Quentin Tarantino film, I don't get upset by watching people get killed in those films because I'm like, I know it's not real. Plus, they probably deserve it, like.
Yeah,
But
most
like,
of his characters are anti-heroes at best and villains at worst.
yeah, but like if I watch a film and like a cat like gets like shot or whatever, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why would you do
Yeah, well,
that?
it's that classic thing. If the animal dies, then I'm sorry, but the audience is going to hate you for a little bit.
Yeah, this is a bizarre trilogy though. Of these, like, I would
Yeah,
say this is like, I wouldn't say it's a bad trilogy. It just doesn't do anything. Like,
yeah,
to give an example of a great trilogy, Back to the Future is a great trilogy, and
yeah.
yes, all three of those films feature time travel, but they go to different places in each of them, and it feels like they're doing something new. Whereas these films are basically the same, except in the third one they're in prison. Like
Yeah.
that's it.
I want to talk about a real bitter disappointment that I had with the second one.
Yeah.
Because the opening scene, Kane and West are in. They're volunteer medics in like the war in somewhere.
Oh yeah, that confused me. I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like,
And in fact, I'll get back to what I was just about to say because there's another thing that I want to bring up.
yeah.
At the end of the first Re-Animator, there's a sort of implication that Herbert West dies. And
Yeah, he
then and Kane, like his girlfriend's died, so he goes to reanimate her. And then we get to the second one, and none of that's really addressed. There's like a title card that says 9 months after the massacre at so and
yeah,
so.
I was like,
But other than that, they don't address it at all.
yeah, I thought like, oh, he's dead. Huh. All right. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
and then the second one picks up, and I was like, hang on, you're alive. You, the other guy, you're still collaborating with him, and you're still actively against his like a lot of his research.
But you're still helping him
Why are you still
anyway.
associating with him?
Yeah, it's so bizarre because I thought I really had no idea what I thought when the second one started. I was like, right, so is this have they just been like reincarnated to a different time period? Like that's genuinely what I thought it was because I was like, because I'd figured, yeah, Herbert West had died. They're in a different place, and it's like, no, the same characters. And I was like, what the.
For the first 5 minutes, I was almost totally on board with them just ignoring the ending of the first film because I thought, oh, cool, they're doing like zombie war stuff. That's
Yeah.
cool. And
That
then
would
the
have probably
opening
that would have made it a
scene,
much better film.
yeah, I would have really liked that. And then that opening scene ends, and we, do other things. We just do the first film again, and I was quite disappointed about that.
I just like felt honestly the first one disappointed me because yeah, no, as I mentioned before, I was expecting a pretty solid film. The sequels I was less disappointed in because I knew they weren't as good, so I was like, whatever. Plus I wasn't invested in those films either, so I wasn't disappointed when I watched them. But it was
Yeah, I
just
was like,
like,
okay, the first one's the one that matters. The others can do what the fuck they want. I don't really care.
but like I just felt like these are films that I could love. Like, these could be really good film. Like, because I've touched on this before, but I'm not a big zombie guy. I think zombies are like decent, but like I don't get the
My
craze.
relationship with the zombie genre is that a lot of them get really close to tapping into stuff that I really enjoy.
Mm,
But then they're about to cross that finishing line of like, well done, you've hit the nail on the head, and then they stop and they think, you know what, let's call it a day, and then everyone just goes.
yeah, goes home. Yeah.
Um,
I think also like I don't really find. I mean, I don't know how many people find zombies scary, but I feel like there's movies where you're meant to find the zombies are scary, and I mean like I don't like honestly, they were scarier when they did that Simpsons episode. Like they were far scarier than that.
is that Dial Z for zombie? Is that like that?
Dials Ed for Zombies, yeah. It's such a good segment. It's great. And like the thing about that is because like I'm not the biggest zombie person, but just the way the Simpsons did that segment was just like that is like peak zombie. Like, that is like what makes zombies great, like because zombie films they do sort of fall short. Like they could be like I would argue Shaun of the Dead is the best zombie film ever
That to me that is peak zombie fiction.
because it's not even majorly scary. It's just the zombies. Well, first of all, the zombies feel like a threat. Plus, like the film is funny and like
I mean, what I enjoy in Shaun of the Dead is how a zombie apocalypse is used as like a catalyst for this person getting their shit together and kind
yeah,
of doing
yeah. I'm just looking at other.
and sort of like problem solving. Whereas most zombie films, I feel either come down to right, let's barricade ourselves in somewhere and hide, or let's go kill some zombies. Whereas I don't want to talk about Shaun of the Dead too much because we're not covering that. But I enjoy that film doesn't just commit to that. It has kind of like the second act is kind of like right, let's journey to this.
Yeah, we've got
place
to
that we
evade these zombies. We can't take these zombies because there's fucking loads of them. Like
Yeah, there's a nice balance between let's lay low and having to fight the zombies when they become a
yeah.
big threat.
Plus, also, I feel like the problem though with zombie stories is you can't really tell them in America because of the existence of guns. Like there are so many
Yeah,
guns.
there's a very immediate solution.
There are so many guns in
And
America
again,
that like
another reason why Shaun of the Dead is great is because you've got people fight. It's the people living in the suburbs fighting zombies with freaking cricket bats and stuff.
yeah,
Like
like
that's to us, and like people that live in the UK and Australia, where gun laws are very quite strict.
yeah,
That's kind of relatable.
yeah, exactly.
Whereas I can anyone in like particular parts of America, a zombie outbreak happens, they're whipping out the shotgun and taking names.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't affect. I think because so many sort of typical monsters, like I find something like because I don't find zombies scary really. I don't find like vampires to be that scary. I don't find any of those sort of creatures to be scary in general.
Depends.
But yeah, but there are examples where I can be sort of scared by them. Like I would argue something like Evil Dead, the first one mainly, and in some ways the second one, the third one not at all because the third one is not a horror film like by any stretch.
No.
But the first two Evil Dead films are actually quite scary for zombie films. I mean, there's also
I think the first one has some very effective horror.
yeah, I mean, it's also got some weird stuff that it does to the female characters, but like, that seems to be quite common with horror films.
That just seems to be how you deal with women in horror films in the 80s.
Just have them be,
Salted.
yeah,
And we'll leave it at that.
yeah. That's the like they, and it's just like I don't know. I just feel that this film it doesn't it. I guess it kind of portrays them as a threat, but also not really. Like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, there's the zombies. Because, like, well, first of all the zombies in the first one are pretty much naked, which is just like, okay.
Yeah, because there are a bunch of bodies from a morgue.
And it's just like, do we need that? Like, do we need? I really don't want to be seeing all these naked men. All right, can we just like just tone it down a bit? Like, can we just
Mellow out a bit.
not? But no, we just.
Um,
Which that must be so awkward to film, like, because there's just so many bits where they're like tussling with each other, and I'm like, oh, I would be so concerned.
yeah.
I'd be like, oh god, I don't want to like accidentally touch something, because god, that just wouldn't be. Good. To but to bring a positive to these films, mainly for the first one, practical effects are pretty solid. Certainly for the first one, I would
Yeah.
argue.
I will definitely say that about the first one.
2 and 3 are hit or
Still
miss.
good, just to a slightly lesser extent. There's a bit
I
more CG happening in the
I
first
think
one.
it's because they would have gotten much larger budgets, I imagine, or certainly more of a budget. Let me
I
check.
don't know. I felt like I say always. I watched it today. I felt like Bride of Re-Animator, if anything, felt a bit cheaper.
Yeah. So it had a budget of 2.5 million. Bride of Re-Animator. The first film had a budget between 900,000 and 1.3 million.
Right. Okay.
And then
I mean,
Beyond
I
Reanimator.
think that does show. I do think that Re-Animator does come across as quite a cheap film.
Yeah, but I don't know, something about it, there's a slight charm to it.
Yeah. No, I think it kind of works there as a bit of kind of schlocky
But in
horror.
the second and third one, where the effects are so much more, it's just like, okay, you didn't do as good of a job this time. Like, you just, it just feels like, I don't know if laziness is necessarily the complacency. I guess I mean, I guess it's,
Yeah.
but it was just like something about it just looked, because I feel like with the first one it has a sense of like they're very limited in what they can do, so they really had to use everything to the best effect they could. Like, they had to really put that money to good use. You know, like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, you know, working on I've worked on short films and that before, and like, you know, when you have basically no budget, like I did a short film during high
Make the money
school.
count where you can.
Yeah, and we were, you know, fortunate enough for this short film that I made. We were very fortunate that we were provided with equipment, but we also had to get all the costumes and props and all that together. So we had to fund still a decent portion of it, and like, we really didn't have a lot of money to work with though, like, because it's high school is making a film on a high school budget, which is basically zero. like
Yeah,
like
pretty much
make
nothing.
and this film, you know, like, it just feels like, you know, I can appreciate a film that, like, I personally respond really well to a film when I'm like, okay, that's low budget, but like, I appreciate it. You know, they've worked with what they've got,
Yeah, you've done what you can and you've done it well.
because I'm a fan of practical effects. Like, I don't dislike CGI in a way that I know a lot of people, like certain people in the industry do. In the industry, like, I'm in that fucking industry. But like, I think, you know, practical effects, you don't see as many, like, you still see practical effects and things, you know, like, certainly an action well, that's not the same thing, of course. Practical effect is just literally just, we'll just have Tom Cruise jump out a window. That's what practical effects in action films are.
Just duct tape Tom Cruise to the side of a plane and see what happens.
Yeah, but in terms of horror, like, horror's really suffered with CGI, I feel like, because like, look at like something like Alien looks great. Like, Alien is an excellently, it looks excellent. The xenomorph, is it like a like animatronic? I was gonna say puppet, but it's an animatronic.
I thought the Xenomorph was like just a really tall dude in a costume. Anyway, what I was gonna say before, I think what is really tarnishing the use of CGI in horror is that often horror films will be playing with like science fiction stuff, like, you know, stuff that isn't real. And I think by not being able to discern that it is a physical thing, I think that kind of takes away from it. Like, if if I look at Re-Animator and think, okay, no, those are people,
Yeah, instead of
They use
using like yeah, so like you think yeah, so if they'd
actually seeing people interacting with the creature that they are going up against. I think
yeah,
that's better than
like if the
having
cat
somebody hustle
was
with a CGI.
yeah, like if it was a CGI cat, like in that new Pinocchio, uh, like if it,
What? Oh, that was bad.
but if it was like so, yeah, you if it was a CGI cat, then they were that was instead of because it's clearly like a puppet, but like if they used like a CGI cat, that wouldn't have been as effective. Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, no, I think you need to be able to be like, okay, no, that's a physical thing that I'm seeing on
yeah.
screen, rather than
I
they've
mean,
just kind of shot a ping pong ball on a stick and then layered
yeah,
some CGI.
yeah. It's sort of the problem with the newer Jurassic Park films. Is like
Yeah. No, it's just so clearly
it's
a
an,
big, false thing.
it's like oh look, just actors just like sort of looking up and just like
Looking in the direction of something.
and just being told like okay now just make a scared face or or scream or whatever. Yeah, no, I think it yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think
It's a fun game I like playing in modern films that use that have like actors interacting with CGI things. Because if you just kind of follow their eye line, sometimes they'll be looking slightly, to the side or above what they're meant to be looking at.
yeah, it's I mean that's I just yeah, I mean CGI like has advanced so much for better and for worse. Like
Yeah.
I'm not like again CGI. I'm all for it being used and things, but just like can we just like tone it down? Like Marvel, they're another example of like everything is CGI. Look at all this.
Yeah, literally, I'll be watching something and I think, wow, none of that's real.
Yeah, and it's just like come on,
It might
guys.
as well be an animation.
Yeah, and oh, and it sucks too CGI because I feel like from now on, every time I see CGI, I just be like, man, those poor VFX artists. I wonder how
Yeah, no,
quickly they
particularly
had to get
with
this
Marvel stuff,
finished.
like these poor underpaid people.
It's like, man, how long did it take you to make that? Because it doesn't look good. Like that's the problem.
Yeah,
Is it doesn't
probably put a
even
bit
look.
better in, but
But like, yeah, in terms of effects, I think these films look good. There's lots of fake blood at various points. There's just a lot of honestly like there isn't much to say on these films. I feel like it's just I think that I don't know. Also, I will say though, in terms of the acting, there's like a line between. There's no like great acting. There is either like fine. There's like there's sort of three levels. There's underacting or being wooden. Then there's like decent acting, which isn't amazing, but like it's serviceable.
that's the
And
job.
then there's ridiculous overacting. Like when anybody has to yell, I was just like, okay, I don't buy that, mate. Like, come on, when people keep dying, I was like, all right, let's just like in the second one, is it where the woman she dies, and then also they start cutting into her chest for some reason. Did I miss why that was happening?
I don't remember.
And then the guy, he's just cutting, and then there's just a spurt of blood in his face, and I was like, oh, whoops.
When you said there's a lot of fake blood, that was the bit that came to mind. Like Herbert West's like, "No, we're gonna cut," and then he gets split with blood, and I was like, "Oh."
At least with the zombie, the zombies, they're not even, it's not even blood that's coming out. They're just like liquid.
Pus.
It's pus. Yeah, it's gross.
That dude gets electrocuted in the chair, and he gets like some pus like burst out of his face. I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, and like in the first one, actually, this is going all over the place. But in my defense, there isn't a lot to say about these films, so I'm just
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think we'd be struggling to structure some sort of proper conversation.
believe me. Next week we'll have a lot more structure than this. Believe me. There's actually one thing in this film that I found really, really scary, actually.
Yeah.
And it's in the first film when they lobotomize that zombie.
Yeah.
and it's not because it's because lobotomies terrified the shit out of me. Like, just the idea of it is like, well, it's just gonna cut out some of your brain, and then there you
Yeah.
go.
So you're still alive, but you can't do a lot.
Yeah, like Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest has
Interesting.
that quite famously. The Simpsons did it in an episode, quite famously as well.
Was that in a reference to Cuckoo's Nest?
It's I don't think it is technically like.
I know The Simpsons definitely did parody.
I know they parodied One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I know there's a bit where they basically parody the ending, but I don't think that specific where people get lobotomized is like a direct parody. It's just because Ned Flanders rules the world, and if you don't agree with him, lobotomy. But I just don't. The idea of a lobotomy is just quite terrifying. Like, it's not like
Yeah.
it's ever gonna happen. It's one of those things where I'm like, it's never gonna happen to me, but just the idea of like,
Concept is scary enough.
and I'm just like, oh, get away from my brain. I don't wanna.
My brain. It's in my head for a reason. You can't have it.
Yeah. I just get like that with things where I'm scared of things that I'm like, this is never gonna happen in my life. But like, just the concept of like, please don't.
I'm like that with cults. Things like Wicker Man and Midsummer, where I'm like, yeah, I'm probably never gonna go to like some sort of
Yeah, you're not gonna be burnt in a wooden
isolated
effigy.
Swedish festival or some little Scottish island just because these films have taught me not to. I'm still scared that one day I'll stumble across something and become a sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, you'll know when Britt Eklund's outside your window trying to sing to you.
You know, if Christopher Lee's outside hooking little boys up with little girls, I'm like, yeah, let's get the heck out of Dodge.
Yeah. I'm never scared by things that because I get like Re-Animator. I know it's obviously fake. Like, I know zombies are obviously not real, so that doesn't scare me. I'm just scared of things that like will probably never happen to me, but just the knowledge that it exists is like,
To me, like this could be a thing. Yeah, that's why I
oh
thought cults.
no, because it's like, I mean, when am I ever gonna get in a position where I could be lobotomized though? Like, it's such a weird
But
fear.
like, if I just keep living a normal life, it won't happen.
Yeah. Plus, I also don't think lobotomy is as common a practice now. I would
In general, they
hope.
try to avoid it if they can.
I would like to hope it doesn't happen because it's pretty brutal and quite unnecessary a lot of the time. I feel like.
It's like the word dehumanizing was made to go hand in hand with the bottom.
Yeah. These films. I mean, they feel dehumanizing. I feel like these films.
Yeah, something that I thought of saying before, but I didn't because we moved on to a different subject. To say these films, a big part of them is like creating life and stuff. They have such blatant disregard for life of any kind,
They just keep killing people. Like,
and not just people and things.
yeah, like just so many.
If
It's
it
just
breathes and moves, kill it.
yeah, and it's just so like okay. Oh, here's the woman. She's gonna die. Oh, there's a cat. Oh, it's dead now.
Well, she does. Look at her knockers.
I just hated that scene so much in the first one. It was so just like, look, I just don't want to because it's so bad. It's just like,
It's just poorly aged. Even then, I feel like people would have been like, okay, rein
come
it
on, bring it in a bit, guys.
in. Real.
Yeah, it just these films just feel like I don't even know if they're trying to say anything either. Is the problem? Like,
Yeah, I don't think they are. I feel like you could do some like Frankenstein-esque playing God sort of thing, but the issue is nobody learns from anything.
yeah, because he just
keep
keeps
doing it.
bringing people back. Like in the third one, there's that guy in the cell, and he just keeps fucking injecting himself with this stuff, and then he has a fucking spasm. Like, what are you?
That was a bit where okay, that dude that's like he's like a junkie and he keeps injecting himself. Oh yeah, I mean, if anything's gonna clue you in that this is very much beyond the realms of possibility. The people are reanimated by injecting them with like highlighter fluid or whatever.
God,
Makes
it's
them
such a
look like-
bright color. I hated.
Yeah, it's very luminescent, isn't it?
I hated the title card for the first film because I mean I know it's Re-Animator, but you can like at a certain, like, when it starts coming in, you can barely make out what it is. It's so bright that and the letters are so close together. It's like,
Yeah, it's just a blur.
if I just showed this to someone, they'd have like, and like without any context, they'd be like, "What does that say?" And I'd be like, "It's Re-Animator." And they're like, "Oh,
Illumination? Is that what it says?
why does it look like that?" I'd be like,
Illumination?
I don't. I'd be like, I don't know why it looks like that. They
I
just
was
decided.
around 1985.
Yeah, it just these films, like, I mean, they're not bad. I just feel like they are missed potential is the
Yeah.
problem.
So I was about to say them, but again, we got slightly sidetracked. This is a bit where the visual effects, the practical effects, are slightly dodgy. That dude that injects himself with the fluid over and over again,
Yeah,
to the point that he like explodes. And then he goes up. He's like his face is all melted and stuff, and he goes up to the bar and he's like, "Yo, Herbert West, give me another hit." And he's like, "You've had enough."
yeah,
You can very clearly see a little rope between the top of his head and the frame that's making him move.
yeah. These film, yeah.
Like, he looks like a really gross Muppet.
I think a thing I had with these films though is like, because it's so clearly fake half the time. Like some of the camera shots, it feels like it's just moving around to like and editing around the crap effects at times. I'm just like, yep, that's a weird way of shooting that. Oh, she's like falling, but oh, it's cut and she's already fallen. Oh, wow. Because I guess they couldn't have her, have someone actually fall or whatever. Like it's that kind of thing, and it's just like, okay. Like, it just feels like, I don't know. These are films that appeal to a certain audience of sadists. Like, no, that's a bit harsh. But I feel like people who love
All
these.
of you people that work in slaughterhouses out there, this is for you.
But I feel like people who love these films and think these are great, like you've got to have some like, because I feel like these are films made for a certain demographic and a certain audience, and I'm just like, I'm not that audience. Like, I just
I'm just not one of those people.
I just don't. It just doesn't.
So from all of us here at the movies with William Fletcher to you guys out there who really get into these films, get help.
Look, as long as everyone can admit that the way the women are treated and some of the things that happen to these women are bad, I really hope there's no one out there who like watches those scenes
really gets into it
and like, yeah,
oh, that's cool, girl.
or gets off to it. I'd be like, no, that's just not.
They're watching it with their mate and somebody's head like bursts open and they're like, oh,
yeah, and they'd be like, oh, mate, there's this great scene with this head, right? And you know what he does? Oh, I don't even want to tell you, mate, but what he does to this woman, oh, it's fucking
lit, mate.
It's so good, man. Oh, I love it. It's like one of the, it's brilliant.
I have no patience for these sorts of people.
I just find people who, because horror, I feel like, depending on what kind of horror you like, the type of horror films you like, I feel like that says a lot about you as a person. Like if someone
like violence for violence, I do have to question.
Like people who are like fans of Rob Zombie, I'm like, okay, so there's something like wrong with you, right? Like there's no
something happened when you were young.
There's no like
you hit a deer with your car and you went over and had a look. Like, what?
I just and I just find these films are just made for an audience of people who I look, and I say this to someone who rather enjoys the first one, but like I just don't. This isn't a film I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch this every Halloween because I'm a horror. Like to be fair, I don't really rewatch horror films that often anymore. I'm getting to that point where I'm like, I don't need to rewatch that film. I can wait a couple years before I watch that film again. But it's just like, but these films are just like cool. I've seen these films, and to be fair, if I never saw them again, I don't think I'd be missing out on much. I
Yeah,
think
I
I'd be
wouldn't
quite
mind.
happy.
I've ticked them off. I've seen the first one twice, satisfied. I've seen
I mean, that
the
is the
second
best one.
one
Yeah.
once, satisfied. Let's leave it there. If I happen to watch, if I'm going to watch any of them again, it will be the first one, and I'll probably leave it there.
I mean, that is the best one. Like, I don't think you need to watch. And the sequels are irrelevant, basically. Like, you really can just kind of be like, pretend they don't exist. Like, they really, because they don't add that much either. Like,
Yeah, they don't really expand anything.
and Daniel's not even in the third one for some reason. Like,
Yeah, he just went somewhere else. I guess because he's not in prison,
yeah, I guess because
or
he's,
the actor just couldn't be bothered.
yeah. Maybe he was like, yeah, no, I'm too old for this shit. I don't want to do these
Like,
films.
what, another one? Oh, no.
Oh, God, I made my money with the first two. I'm quite alright. I don't need to do more.
Let's call it a day.
Yeah, I just we haven't really. I mean, we didn't really talk about the plots of these films, but I mean, there's not much to say. It's literally just people bringing corpses back to life.
I say it's just three films of Herbert West getting some, doofus to help them out.
Boom.
He's like,
There you
let
go.
me bring back the dead, and then they do it, and it goes wrong.
And it goes
then
wrong.
the film-
And it's literally like I kind of would have liked if in one of them they think it goes all right. Like maybe it does go all right. Maybe in one of them it goes right, and then like, oh, we actually brought someone back. It went well, and then it goes wrong, or maybe it doesn't. And then
They also do that in the third one because they do the thing with the rat. And it's
yeah,
like, oh, it's fine, and then but later it goes a bit savage. But
yeah,
yeah, I feel like that would be a nice little change of pace. Like maybe at one point
and
we have like no zombie carnage for the first like hour of the film, and then
yeah,
huzzah, we did it.
and maybe like
We,
the
we brought somebody back, and maybe the characters are at like some sort of like gala event, kind of celebrating this scientific achievement, and then it goes to shit.
yeah. But no, it's just
And
the
then
same
no
thing.
matter how it stands, it's just okay, inject them. Oh my god, they're crazy. Who could have possibly foreseen this? Me, that's who, because I've seen the other two films.
Yeah, it's just like there's not much to say about these films. I feel like I've said all I've really
Yeah, I
wanted.
feel like I've said my piece. I think we are just going to end up making like these films and repeating ourselves.
Yeah. So yeah, this is one of the shorter episodes. Do you want to put a rating on the three films, and then we can wrap this up?
Sure. So first one, Re-Animator, 1985. It's good fun. There are some nice little scenes, but it's very emotionally cold, and therefore I can't. It doesn't really resonate with me very much. But I do enjoy it, so I'm going to give that 7 out of 10. It's just a sturdy 7.
Mm-hmm.
Then Bride of Re-Animator. I got really excited in the first 5 minutes, and that excitement was quickly extinguished. And it just does more of the same but less good. So I'd give that a 6. And then it sort of claws back like a little bit of dignity with the third one by spicing it up a little bit by having it set in a prison. But then it just does devolve into zombie carnage at the end, and that's not enough to keep me interested. That's something that all three of these films I think have in common. The last kind of 15-20 minutes, I just I get bored.
Yeah.
And so I'd give that one a nice kind of middling 6.5. It's the halfway point between the two.
Yeah. So the first one, like, it's good. I like it. Very weak 8 out of 10. It which might be slightly generous now that I've talked about
I
it.
feel like that doesn't really line up with how you've talked about it, but you know what, you do you, bro.
I just think I appreciate it more for what the concept. I think the concept worked, and then the sequels were just like, let's just do that again, but shit. And they're not even bad. It's just like they just do the same thing again. They just do it far weaker. So
Yeah.
the second one is a 6 out of 10, very close to a 5 actually. It's a very low 6 out of 10. And
Yeah, no,
then the
it's
third one is a very weak 7. It's slightly better. I just found it funny at times. And I just want to say one final thing on the third one for a wrap up. There's just a bit at the end when that guy's penis comes back to life.
Oh yeah, there's that shot of a rat with a penis.
Because the woman goes down on him and then rips it off and then it comes back to life, which is just like, fucking what? I feel like the people who made these films are really horny and they've got really fucked up
I mean,
fantasies.
it's the weird thing with horror that a lot of the time horrors, often is associated with like phallic imagery.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, Alien is a prime
again, I was gonna say
example.
again, but the Alien, that was like kind of conceived as a more than slightly sexual being.
For me, it's an 8 out of 10 for the first one. Very weak 6 for the second. All these scores are very weak. It's a very weak 8, a very weak 6 for the second one, and a very weak 7 for the third one. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a bit all over the place.
I know I did.
Talked about some weird things. So yeah, check out the other episodes I've done. I'm nearly at episode 100, which is fucking mental. And I've got something already planned for episode 100, and it's interesting. I don't know how well it's going to work out, so if sometime the next week, I'm going to test things to make sure it works out, because I want to do something big for episode 100. So look forward to that. But yeah, check out other episodes. I've done over 90 of them. Barney's done loads at this point,
I've done quite a few at this point.
because I just keep harassing him, and he eventually says yes.
Yeah.
Which isn't a good. Which you shouldn't do that though. In normal circumstances, don't do that. Don't harass people until they say yes.
Yeah. Only succumb to peer pressure if you're going on a podcast.
Yeah, because he apparently enjoys it. I don't know if I believe him. I think he just feels bad for me, so he just says yes.
I'm just an excellent liar.
Yeah. He might be on another one this year. He might not. I don't know. He's apparently leaving for a bit. Don't know when that is. I don't know. Plus,
December-ish.
December, yeah. Plus, he's a busy.
There'll be like a month from like mid-December to mid-January where I'll be off the grid.
Well, you'll be off the Australian grid. You'll be on a different one.
I'll be on an English grid, but you get the idea.
But yeah, thank you all for listening to this one. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.